I think what's interesting for me is that the conclusion of your report is that there is a pathway to growth here. Talk us through what you found.
Absolutely, and thank you again for having me on the show. So what we noticed in 2022 is essentially three things. One is that gaming investment is up about 2x where it was in 2020 in pre-pandemic levels. So gaming investment is increasing while the industry, as your great segment just showed, continues to increase. The second thing we noticed is that there's about $45 billion in cash sitting on the corporate balance sheets of gaming companies today, creating an incredibly healthy gaming and M&A environment. The third thing that we're noticing is, given as you all well know, that the IPO markets are closed, late stage investing in the gaming market has slowed almost to a grinding halt, while early stage continues to grow. As you see in this chart, gaming will continue to grow and is expected to continue to grow over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
We had a report last year that showed that gaming over the last two recessions was incredibly resilient. So no matter where we're at right now, we think that we'll continue to thrive as an industry.
Josh, I'm interested to go back to the consolidation point. There's a lot of cash on balance sheets, but there's also a lot of regulation about where that cash is put to work. We just think about Microsoft and Activision. Is that deal going to go through? Does that matter? Do we see more waves of this?
Absolutely. So the FTC is absolutely doing their job in trying to protect the gaming market. Our opinion is that their objections to this M&A acquisition is actually unfounded. One, it's based on what might happen and not what is happening. And that's a really key thing to highlight here. We think this acquisition should go through. We think it will go through. We believe that this is absolutely a fair acquisition. You know, it's worth highlighting that post-acquisition, the gaming revenue to Microsoft would be around $21 billion. That would be about 11% of the entire gaming market. But right now, Sony makes about 18 billion in the market, and there's actually a lot of competitors that are in that similar range. So we think the FTC is worried about what might happen, and we think that sets a very dangerous precedent for M&A across not only gaming, but broader entertainment and IP in general. So we think this should go through. We think it will go through after it gets through all the objections, but certainly an intense environment.
Broader entertainment is an interesting one because we know that Netflix has been making eyes at the view of getting into gaming more, and we've seen it as evidence. Are these the sort of companies that start picking off interesting companies, and what kinds of companies do you see this consolidation occurring in?
Absolutely. Great question. So Netflix is actively building out a games business. Basically, this is in reaction to the fact that passive entertainment is losing out to interactive entertainment. Passive entertainment, which is one way, like Hulu or HBO Go or Netflix, is losing out to two-way interactive entertainment, which gaming has been a professional at for 50 years. So this interactive entertainment is where a lot of groups like Netflix and Amazon and Google are moving towards. You're even going to see Disney eventually enter the space in a much bigger way. I think that a lot of the cash on the balance sheet of broader tech companies is not only going to compete, but likely enter in new ways into the gaming industry alongside the active 45 billion in cash that gaming companies like the traditional ones like Activision, Blizzard, and Nintendo have.
It's interesting because you cite those numbers in your report, right? You look at the cash some of the mega cap tech companies have, and the conclusion you draw is there's still a healthy M&A environment, and yet Caroline and I are here waiting every day for some updates around Activision, Microsoft. Will it happen? Won't it happen? What will the regulators do? Do you think it will happen?
I do. In the short, Ed, I do. And the reason why is because the objections are based on the theoretical of what might happen in the future. I don't think that's going to win out in court. I think it sets a dangerous precedent for future M&A across all of entertainment, not just gaming, of, well, we might become a monopoly, so therefore we should stop this M&A. The FTC later could retroactively, if their fears become realized, can step back in and try to slap the hand of Microsoft and say, hey, you need to divest or you need to separate. So they could always step in later if their fears are realized. But right now, it's a really tricky environment, and it would set a weird precedent across all of the FTC's scrutiny of different markets.
Okay, Josh, your funds, your new ones, where is then ripe to invest?
There's essentially going to be a few areas that a lot of hype is going to be generated around AI. So around gaming. One of those is artificial intelligence. People are talking about artificial intelligence is going to make the creation process much easier. We think that is absolutely going to play out, but it will be very tricky how this is exactly going to play out from a tech standpoint, and whether it will be investable to build billion-dollar companies. So question mark, but that will be invested in. The second is Web3. People are waiting for Web3 and blockchain technology to really provide a monetization addition to the gaming industry in the same way that we saw free to play back in the emergence of mobile. The third is probably going to be around new marketplace dynamics in the virtual reality space. So as virtual reality continues to be adopted, we think there'll be continued investment. Some of the areas that we're most excited about as a firm is things around the intersection of gaming and education, gaming and healthcare, and gaming and VR. That's really kind of where we're seeing a lot of exciting opportunities.
On those themes, Josh, Electronic Arts reports earnings Tuesday, Sony later in the week. Are those names, the kind of legacy names in the video game industry, still relevant to those growth areas, those future opportunities you've just outlined?
They're certainly relevant in the sense that the companies that I'm investing are looking to land those people as clients. So the groups that you're mentioning, whether they're from the tech space like Meta that are entering gaming in a big way through things like Oculus, or the traditional ones like Zynga and EA and Take-Two and Ubisoft, all of them can become clients of the technologies that, us as a firm are looking to invest in. So they're absolutely still relevant. And eventually, if these companies, find an amazing business relationship, they can become an acquisition relationship, tying back to a few of the topics we just talked about, but it is absolutely still relevant. These are great companies that are, at the forefront of where we're kind of going. And so we're just hoping to work with them more.